Hi everybody, sending you lots of love from Calgary, Canada. My name is Anshu and I'm a trauma-informed coach. I'm so excited to be here collaborating with lesser known writer. They're putting some great information out there. So today I wanted to talk about third culture identity. So what comes to mind for you when you think about third culture identity? I'll share a little bit about my experiences, some of the challenges that I've been through, and how I have come to love and embrace my third culture identity as a kid and as an adult. I've had to do some work around that. So when someone asks me, "Where are you from?" it's exhausting, right? I go back to a place where I try to think about, are they talking about where I was born, where my parents are from, where I grew up, because I grew up in multiple different cultures, or where I live now. So, growing up, my parents, my grandparents are from India, born there, and then I was born there as well. So I spent some of my childhood in India. Um, we traveled quite a bit. Even in India, we went through different cultures. I was born in a beautiful village in India, and then we ended up moving, and then we lived in a city called Gorba, and then we moved from there, and then we lived in Calcutta. So in India, every state has its own culture, its own food, sometimes even its own language. And so just even right there, there's a few different cultures happening, right? There's the village culture, the Chhattisgarh culture, and then there is the city culture, the West Bengal, Calcutta culture happening. And so already there's all of these different identities getting built. Where what my parents grew up as, it's quite different than how I'm growing up. And then when I would have been about around 13 years old, we ended up leaving India and moving to Southeast Asia. So Cambodia was our first stop. We were in Phnom Penh. We lived in the countryside for a while. And so me and my sister ended up growing up quite a bit in Malaysia. So we went to an international school in Penang, Malaysia. It's a beautiful island. And so we spent part of our developing years there, right? So we spent about 3 years there. And so really took on Southeast Asia culture. We learned the language, we learned about the food, and we really learned to cherish all of that. We learned about the people, the history, the art. And so we took on that identity as well. When I think of home, and when I think of where I belong and what plays into my identities, I think about all of those places. I think about India, I think about Cambodia, I think about Malaysia, and then we came here to Canada, right? So I've got all of these mixtures of different cultures, and so I recognize that a lot of the times that I have a different culture than my parents, right? We are all connected, but my parents' culture is quite different than mine. And even my culture that I've created as a third culture identity kid and now an adult is quite different from other people that might have grown up in different cultures. And so just recognizing the complexity and the different facets and the different ways these different identities play into your whole being. And so just recognize that, right? So I've learned through my experiences not to put people in boxes, and I always avoid the question of where you're from. I say, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your story. Tell me about a place that you hold close to you. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about. And I hope that helps and sheds a little light on third culture identity and what third culture kids and adults sort of look like and how they relate to each other. And it's a whole other community, right? We see that a lot with people that are traveling, people that are sort of living some of these transient lives, and we see that more and more. And so, I have learned that sometimes people don't always understand that I don't connect with just one place or one culture. And so I would feel kind of awkward about it. I'd feel kind of left out. And so, but over the years, I have learned that it has played a huge part in who I am and how I see the world, right? And I think it's so important that we're inclusive of that and understand that we're not assuming, right? We're not assuming when we see someone where they're from, who they are, what their story could be, but we're staying curious and we're asking questions and just understanding that everybody's got this amazing, rich life, and experiences to share and talk about. And so I've really learned to sort of embrace all my identities as a South Asian, as carrying Southeast Asia culture with me and identity with me, and then Canadian identity and culture with me, and what that means for me. And I think it's so important that we allow people to have the flexibility and the freedom to define who they are and how they identify and who they identify with, and to really know that we can belong to multiple different cultures, and we're creating our own cultures while we're taking on all these other cultures, right? Our family cultures, where we grew up cultures, where we were born culture, where we're living now culture, even our work cultures, right? And so just knowing that all of these play together and come together and really enrich someone's narrative, someone's story, and to just be curious about that and not to go in with assumptions. Always ask, and ask carefully, right? With a sensitive lens, with an inclusive lens, and know that know that it's about the other person and them leading us to how they want us to see them, and how they define themselves and how they carry themselves through their perspective and their experiences. So hopefully that was a little glimpse into third culture identity. Tell me what some of your experiences are, because I know there's tons of people out there that have similar experiences, that that are just in a place where they're trying to embrace all the different identities and all the different cultures that they've grown up in. So share with me some of your experiences, some of your stories. I love to hear about it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.